Welcome to the Faithful Fireside Podcast. Do you want to start it or do you want me to start?
I'll let you start.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, welcome to the first episode of the Faithful Fireside Podcast. I'm Dr. Ryder Walton.
I'm Kevin Bright.
And we're here to try and just talk about some really cool stuff that we like. It's kind of an everything podcast, you know, between, faith and work and philosophy and literature and money, because Kevin's really good about that, and I'm not, and I need some help live on camera, or I guess not necessarily live yet. But yeah, this is just sort of the intro. We want to talk to everybody a little bit about what we want to cover and what we want to do. So I'll introduce myself briefly. So again, I'm Dr. Ryder Walton. I did my undergraduate work in Bible and ministry, and I did biblical languages as my minor. And so that's kind of where the love of most of the stuff we're going to talk about started. Like that's really what I have a passion to do and talk about. But then I found out very quickly that being a youth minister in the non-denominational Christian churches was going to make me a very poor man. And I was married at like 20 years old, so I needed to make more than $250 a week to survive.
That's insane.
It was really not great. It was,
Our child care is $320 a week.
Yeah, dude. Well, again, I was 20 when we got married. My wife was 19. And when she watches this, she can comment and correct all the numbers that I get wrong, right, as we go. But it's one of those things that that was like almost 15 years ago now, 15 years ago, the dollar went a lot farther than it used to, for sure. And I feel like I'm not old enough to be able to say that, and that'll be a good intro for us to pick that up for money episodes later. But anyway, went straight back to school. So like I graduated 2014, Oklahoma Christian University, and then I went right back to school in 2014 with a scholarship to do computer engineering. And then I had a really awesome advisor, Pat Smith, who told me that, hey, you could graduate in the same amount of time with a master's degree if you went from computer engineering to do software instead. And I was like, hey, that's a higher degree. Let's do that. And so then I got my master's in 2018 in computer science with an emphasis in software engineering. So when we talk about work and we talk about tech stuff, that's where I'll be coming from. And then after that, I took my whole family to Japan, where I lived on a remote job for a company that shall not be named, and did some really cool stuff for the Japanese. And that is what starts my journey to Catholicism, is that. So we'll get into that. How did that happen? How did you find Catholicism in Far East Asia? Which should be a cool topic. So then I am a Catholic convert, which will be what we'll try and approach a lot of our conversations, from a convert and then from a cradle.
Right.
And, we'll try and kind of figure out what, all the weirdness that happens there. Started my PhD in Japan. So I started that remotely, and I did my PhD in quantum computing, and then my actual research was in quantum natural language processing, which I finished in December of 2024. So fairly newly minted doctor. That's just, I wish I could do that sort of stuff at work. Right, as of right now, I don't have that kind of a research gig. So a lot of the stuff that we get to discuss that might touch quantum topics or something like that is going to still be mostly academic from me and not professional, because I haven't had the chance to do that yet.
Yeah.
That's kind of a cool overview, I guess. It's generally, right, there's a kind of hit. Why are we talking about a very broad variety of things? Just because I have a really broad, formal education base.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So like I said, I'm Kevin Bright. Been in Oklahoma my whole life. My grandmother's full-blood Italian, so I'm a Cradle Catholic since birth, obviously, and it's always been a big piece of our life growing up. Went to college at Oklahoma State. I studied electrical and computer engineering. Have a bachelor's in computer engineering, a minor in computer science.
Mm.
Um, Basically, since college, I've been working. I've hopped between 2 or 3 companies, all engineering related
Mm.
focus. And during that time of college and early on in my career, I called myself like a Cradle Catholic, where I was basically just going to mass at Christmas and Easter, the big events where my Italian grandmother and my mother made me. Um, but it was always something that I thought about of like why I wasn't going as much or things like that. But once I got married, my wife wanted to convert. I honestly didn't even care if she did. I'm glad she did though. And now we're raising 2 girls in the Catholic Church and meeting a Ryder over these last 2 to 3 years, diving into the Bible in the Year podcast, being involved or listening to the Catholic Stuff You Should Know podcast from the guys out of Denver.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just diving head first in. I'm loving it. We're very involved again, and the older I get, the more I appreciate the traditional mass compared to the modern church service. Especially growing
Mm.
up in Oklahoma, there's not a lot of Catholics.
Yeah.
It's mainly Protestant, Southern Baptist. So I grew up being more involved in those churches with my friends' youth groups than I did the Catholic ones, because
Right.
they're the ones that had the money, went to the big church camps.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great as a kid and fun, but the older you get, you don't appreciate the entertainment stage as much as you do a traditional mass. So
Yeah. Nice.
that's it for me.
No, that's good. That's solid. I think. Well, I guess let's introduce a few things that we plan on actually doing.
Hmm.
With the podcast. And so the podcast is going to have like an accompanying book club,
Yeah.
which is as of right now is just going to be the Faithful Fireside Book Club. But maybe we'll have some really cool meme name that organically originates from the people who are in the book club or something.
Yeah.
Give it a nice tag on, But we're going to start by reading John Steinbeck's The Pearl, and it's very short, which is good because in the digital age, people can't read anymore,
Me.
especially Kevin. Yeah, especially Kevin. So we're going to start short, and the way we're going to kind of do the book club is Kevin and I will alternate picking books, and so Kevin's going to go first, and so he's chosen The Pearl. And then our next book is going to be Galahad and the Grail, which is by Malcolm Guite. So we're going to go from a book that's like this thick to one that's like this thick at least. Okay, so we have to be careful and not hurt ourselves.
Yeah.
But we're going to try and sort of switch, and the idea there is to let one member choose the book without the input of the other member to kind of broaden out what we read, and so it should be really cool. So we'll start with that, and then we will do different forms of podcast episodes. So we'll discuss some things that are just related to the liturgical life.
Right.
Feast days. We'll have some multi-part series. We'll have some things that won't take that much time. We hope to do some long-form episodes at some point. Have some guests.
Current events.
Yeah.
Lots of Q&A from all of our Protestant friends or other Catholics who have questions.
Mm-hmm.
The book club will be access only through Patreon, and that will also give you access to our Discord channel.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll mention stuff that we're covering in the book on here as well on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yep. I think that's kind of the where we're going to start, and we have some other plans in the future. Newsletter. I think we talked about
Mhm.
the newsletter. We'll have,
Yeah.
and we'll make some socials so you can kind of keep up with what we're thinking about. I plan to write essays on Substack over certain topics too, and I think that pretty much covers it. I think that's what everybody needs to know to start, if I'm not forgetting anything, and that should be it. So, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hope you enjoy.